I'd like to welcome all of you. Beautiful day that we have here. It's absolutely gorgeous for a beautiful occasion. My name is Kevin Hunt. I am the veteran agent for Newburyport. And before we get started, there are a couple of gentlemen here I would like to take notice of. Two World War II veterans. And to welcome to this microphone a man I have known for years. He is a man who is a friend to all of Newburyport. He is an artist, an excellent speaker, and he always has the proper words for any occasion. Newburyport City Clerk Richard Jones.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. I'd be remiss if I did not say that Bouchard was the best head lifeguard at Salisbury Beach ever in the history. His only one failing may have been that he taught me how to swim, and I probably was not the best lifeguard, let's be honest.
You were good.
It is a distinct pleasure, actually it's humbling, to welcome William and all of you people here to honor William, who has done a truly amazing feat, F-E-A-T. I've known him and respected him. To give you a little sense of his work ethic, I think he flew back, a little disappointed he didn't walk back, but he did. And he showed up right at 8 o'clock the next day for work, if I can use that term. He is a greeter without equal, and that's how we got to know each other. He's just amazing. When he said to me, you know, Richard, I've been thinking about this, I'm going to walk across the country, I thought, oh, he's 71. I can say that because I'm 69. And I said, oh, it's a great idea. He'll never make it. And wow, did I underestimate his determination. Just look at his eyes when he looks at you. You know that he's going to make it, and he did. He's just inspiring to me, and I think all of us. We have today a number of people that wish to speak. We have a proclamation from the city delivered by our City Council President, Barry Connell. We have Senator Diana DeZoglio, who will be here shortly. She's slightly delayed. We have Matt Crescenzo from Representative Moulton's office, and he also has a proclamation. So why don't we start, if we can, welcoming the President, Barry Connell.
Well, good morning. We're lucky to have such a beautiful day for such a remarkable celebration. It's rare, frankly, that we get together like this for something that isn't previously scheduled or commemorated on an annual basis. But the accomplishments of William Shuttleworth are truly unique because it was his concept, his execution, his effort. I mean, people talk about his feet, F-E-A-T. I look at his feet and his calves and I say, darn. That's the lower body of a 20-year-old, not a 71-year-old. Remarkable. And just on behalf of the City Council and the Mayor, who is not able to join us today because she's in Italy. Tough choice. I'm just going to read a proclamation, and I have to tell you, as a former distance athlete and coach, you're the kind of individual who I would love to have brought to my athletes and say, share your experience with them. People talk about character, and character can be defined in many ways, but the way I like to define it is what you do when nobody's watching. And you can't cross this continent on foot unless most of that time is spent silently, quietly, plodding step by step by step when no one's watching. And I'm certain that if we had time to sit down, and I'm sure some of you will have that time, and spoke with Mr. Shuttleworth about his experience, and his commitment to what he's doing, there'd be a lot to be learned. So congratulations, it's incredible. So I'm going to read this proclamation from the city of Newburyport. Too little, but I wish there was something more we could say and do. But whatever it would be would pale in comparison to what you've accomplished. From the city of Newburyport, a certificate of commendation is hereby awarded to William Shuttleworth. It's my honor as Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Newburyport to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your service to our country and your dedication to our veterans. Your 3,000-mile trek across the United States to promote Veterans Don't Forget Veterans is an exceptional feat, bringing national awareness to the plight of some of our veterans. We're so proud that you've made Newburyport your home, and this is given under my hand and sealed this 5th day of September in the year 2019, signed Mayor Donna Holliday. Congratulations.
As I mentioned, now we'll hear from Matt Crescendo, from Representative Moulton's office.
So before I start, the Congressman regrets that he could not be here today. But I am honored to be here as both his representative and as a fellow veteran to say, welcome home, William. It is my privilege to present to you this congressional citation. I hold it the right way. It is my privilege to present to you this congressional citation in recognition of your service to our country and your profound journey to walk in support of our nation's veterans. On behalf of Congressman Seth Moulton, thank you for your continued service to our nation and our community.
Next, we are honored and thrilled to have a Navy SEAL here to speak today, and then subsequently to introduce William. I have an attorney friend of mine this morning I was over at the Y with, and I said, you know, Mark, I have the responsibility to introduce a Navy SEAL today. What do you think I should say? He said, Richard, whatever you say, you be very, very polite. I did do some research. His name is Sal DeFranco, and it's humbling, again. He was a victim of a hit-and-run accident. He was then, that was after being deployed as a Navy SEAL. He, in reaction to that, tried a couple of different ventures and really, in essence, became an entrepreneur and quite successful. He has 2 coffee brick and mortar shops. One I know is in Haverhill. I don't know where the second one is. Maybe he'll tell us. And he also has his own coffee brands. He's here with his wife, and he has a story that is incredible to tell. And then he will introduce our incredible William. Sal.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's when I was asked to come up here and just say a few words, I was incredibly honored. I think what William has done is absolutely incredible, just to bring attention to the veteran causes that need attention brought to them. So if everybody could just close your eyes really quickly for me for just a moment and imagine the thing that you're most passionate about, and then imagine doing that thing. you've just stepped into William's shoes. However, I strongly recommend stepping into William's shoes at this point. Because William, I know they may be, have some sentimental value, but when you get home, please either put them in the garage or in the basement or as far away from you as possible, because I'm sure they smell fantastic. When William set out to do this, and I was talking to a lot of veterans and a lot of people around the community, nobody doubted that he would ever be able to accomplish this. If you look at his record, it's a record of service to others. He spent 6 years in the United States Air Force, and then he spent 25 years as an educator. It's just a record of service to others. And when he went on this journey, I think that's what it really was. It was to bring awareness to others, not to himself. He didn't do this for attention. He didn't do this to say, hey, look what I can do. He did it to bring attention to veteran causes. And what's most impressive is that I remember people saying that it was going to take 6-7 months to cross the country by walking. I think he did it in 3.5 months. So that's just really, really incredible. And when I was hearing about this and following along the way, I heard that his wife was making trips out to visit him. And as we all know, how much our wives can motivate us to get things done. I think all the women are laughing. They're like, all the guys are like, yeah, please. It really speaks to support systems that we have. And again, that goes back to the story of this entire journey is William bringing attention to the support system that is veterans helping other veterans. And I think that was really the theme of what he was doing. So without any further ado, let's give it up for William and everything he's accomplished over the past few months. Truly incredible. It's an absolute honor to introduce him.
Well, good morning, folks. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for Newburyport for celebrating this achievement. I'm honored that all of you came today. When I decided to walk across the country, it came as a result of my wife and I being camp host in California last summer at a campground in a state park in California, 58 campsites, and we created 3 sites for homeless folks, and they tended to be all veterans, and sitting at my picnic table every morning, listening to their stories about lost hopes, attempts to hurt themselves, drug overdose, failed opportunities of ever getting service in VA because they didn't have the right paperwork and the right form filled out. I wasn't halfway home. I was in Dodge City, actually, when I told Patty that I had to do something about this. And since I walk 20 miles every day, what would happen if I walked 20 miles in a straight line across America to ignite the American spirit, to address the needs of our veterans? And Sal, when you said that I was going to do this in 7 months, I knew it wasn't going to be 7 months because I promised my wife I'd only walk 20 miles a day. I knew I was never going to do that. Once I got out of her eyesight, I knew that I was going to walk at least 30 miles every day. People say what a physical achievement it is, and I'd like to actually put that in context without being overly self-effacing. If you did nothing all day long but walk, 30 miles is actually not much to do. I would get up by 4:45, 5 o'clock every day. By noontime, you can walk 25 miles. And you have the rest of the day. What am I going to do? Keep walking. I would try to find a diner by 6 o'clock in the morning. That was always almost the highlight of my day. In the diner, you have retired people that are focused. They tend to be kind and bright and intelligent. They have this incredible banter. I oftentimes said as I walked across the country, if you could harness the wisdom inside a diner, you could do away with Congress. I hope Seth doesn't mind I said that. What was it walk to walk across the country? I'd like to say it was a piece of cake, but it isn't. It's hard work. Some days it was grueling. The last 10 days was the hardest of the trip. I could handle rain, sleet, snow, but some days it got to be 114 degrees in the last 8 days, and it was almost enough to kill you. Walking 30 miles in the desert where it was just grueling, not a tree in sight, nothing but cactus and sand blowing in your face, exfoliating your skin at 50 miles an hour. It brings everything out inside of you that you ever thought you had or didn't even know that you had. But I did it for a lot of reasons. I focused on what I was trying to accomplish in America by having conversations about the number of veterans that are taking their lives, and that we need to do a better job at the local level. Giving an 800 number is a good beginning, but that 800 number has to drift down to a local support system so that everybody in town can be supportive of someone that is on the verge of hurting themselves. I walk for 62,000 veterans that are homeless today, and 1.5 million that are at the risk of becoming homeless. All I can say is that they were homeless when they went in the service and signed on the dotted line to defend this country. They deserve better than that. I walk for better medical care. Of all the things that I heard across the country talking to thousands of people, veterans care was the most #1 prominent issue. I know it's a large organization and a lot of veterans are getting good services, but more and more people that I talked to talked about how much red tape it was, the rigmarole, the I'll get back to yous, the denied services, the denied claims. I want the same health care plan for veterans that Congress has. That's exactly what I want. Sometimes I think that people in Congress forget that veterans exist. You know, only 8% of Congress now are veterans. When I went in the military in 1970, 75% of Congress were veterans. We need to enhance that number. We need to make sure that veterans are represented better. And if they're not veterans, they need to be more veteran friendly. That's a major issue. We can't let that happen. My fourth goal was to elect more vets. I'd like to not only see more veterans elected, but I'd like to see more minority and more women veterans take the leap to join. I want to see guys like Sal in Congress. I think that they have a voice there. I think that's a good bumper sticker, Sal for Congress. I'm too old to do it, but guys like Sal can do it. My fifth goal was to raise $100,000 for disabled American veterans, and I achieved a good portion of that. And on my webpage, Vets Don't Forget Vets, I'll still be taking contributions toward that. And I hope to present that check to the President of DAV with a discussion with Congress as to why an old man had to walk across the country to do this when Congress should be taking care of their veterans. And I know they're doing the best that they can. And when you talk about the people in Congress, make sure you talk about what they're actually doing, not what they're saying they're doing. I hear a lot of rhetoric across the country from people that are trying to be elected and represent us, but I actually haven't heard what they actually have done. I always talk about what they always talk about what they want to do or think they're going to do or say they're going to do. I want a congressman that will put his money where his mouth is and actually do something for veterans. I think that's really an important discussion. I think that's really, really important. I have a million stories to tell. I'd like to talk a couple before we break up today. I was in Mount Sterling one day and had breakfast with a guy by the name of Roger Kinehart, who was about 3 times my size, and his last name suited him perfectly. He was about 6'7", weighed 300 pounds, and he had collected a bunch of veterans for breakfast. We had this great breakfast. And then I left Mount Sterling. About 30 miles down the road, which was about 8 hours later, I heard this tornado warning. I had never heard a tornado warning in my life. And it started raining so hard that I couldn't actually see my shoes. Roger pulls up. 8 hours since I've seen him. He gets out of his truck and hulks over me, and he says, "I'm not even going to mess with you." He says, "Get in my damn truck right now." And he takes me to his mom's house, and she has pastries and coffees, and we ride out the tornado warning. He brings me back to the Mount Sterling for an incredible event, because the next day, that town of Mount Sterling built a home for a disabled homeless vet. At 7 o'clock in the morning, it was nothing but a cement slab. At 5 o'clock that night, this young man, this disabled vet, was eating Cheerios at his table with milk in the refrigerator. It took 100 people to do that. It cost $22,000. And if we can take $22,000 and build a house for veterans, we can eliminate 62,000 veterans in a year. I don't know if you know it, but Congress actually has appropriated $290 million to build homes for disabled homeless veterans. And not a cent of that has been spent except for administration in the last 2 years. And that we need to unleash that money. And I'm hoping that Seth Moulton can hear that and say, where is that money? Where is that money? We have Habitat Plus here today from Lynn. It's a shelter home for veterans that need services. There's money to be allocated to places like that right here in our home state so that no veteran is sleeping on the streets. That, to me, is almost un-American. Another thing that actually happened to Mount Sterling that day, I met Noah. Noah is 7 years old. In fact, he's just turned 8. Noah has a snow cone kiosk, and he donates all of his revenue to people in need. The fact, the day that I was there, he raised $1,600 for a 6-year-old girl with a brain tumor. Can you imagine that level of service at the age of 7? He raised $1,000 for my Vets Don't Forget Vets campaign. And here he is all the way, he lives in Illinois, and I was walking down the road, down the streets in San Diego, and out from the street, Noah pops up. His mom and grandmother thought it was so important for him to see what an American can do if inspired enough, that she brought him out to California to walk the last mile with me. Can you imagine such a thing? Pretty important. I wanted to make sure that my walk across this country was a bipartisan effort. I had a lot of people to try to draw me into conversations about Republicans and Democrats and red and blue and all of that. What party did more for veterans than others? I made it very clear from the beginning that this was a red, white, and blue issue, and that if we address the issues of America, especially veterans, through a bipartisan red, white, and blue issue, we'd be a whole lot better off. In fact, we'd be a whole lot better off if all the issues of America were addressed in that vein. This is actually the 5th pair of shoes that I've worn out. You see a lot of the country walking across the country. I want to say, folks, that America the Beautiful starts with its people. America is a gorgeous, gorgeous country. I've seen it all. It brought fantastic tears to my eyes as I walked over Knoll in Colorado for the first time and saw the Rockies. I've seen the Rockies many times, but to see it as a pedestrian is almost beyond belief. So America is fantastically beautiful. And people say, well, what was your favorite town that you walked in? Actually, my favorite town I walked in was the town I walked out of, Newburyport. I want to thank VFWs. I want to thank Elks. I don't know if you know that, but the Elks actually formed the first VA hospital in Boston, in America. Something to be very proud of. I want to thank the American Legions. I want to thank all the Veterans Assistance Officers that hosted me. I want to thank every small town in America that saw me coming and put me up into a motel and fed me every night and took good care of me. America's people, folks, are kind. They're kind, gracious. They have the heart the size of Colorado. They would give their shirts off their back. They want the same slice of the American pie that we had, that we all have had the opportunity of. America starts with its ordinary people that get up every day, silent American heroes that take care of each other and kind and considerate and loving and spirited. That's the America that I know. And sometimes when you watch the TV tonight, you want to crawl underneath your bed. You think the world is unsafe and coming apart, and it is a dangerous place to live. But I believe me, folks, you put these shoes on and walk across America, you see America the Beautiful, and it starts with its people. So thank you very much for today. I've asked a dear friend of mine, my neighbor Andrew Price, to, at the end of the day, before you walk away, Andrew is a world-class oboist, and he's going to lead us in singing America the Beautiful. I don't know if we have anything else to say today, but Kevin, thank you for coming. Richard Jones, who I love to death, thank you for coming. Thank you for the commendations and medals and awards that I've gotten across the country. It's been really fun. The heroes of America are really the veterans. Every breath of fresh air, every single item of freedom did actually come at the cost of someone willing to put their life on the line and to forfeit their life if necessary. Thank you, Boots. You're the second Boots that I met. I met Boots Morgan in Silverthorne, Colorado. He was 96 years old. He flew a total of 10 different airplanes in World War II. And he took me for a drive in a Subaru, which was absolutely frightening. Boots might have been a hell of a pilot, but I'll tell you, I'll never get in Boots Morgan's car anymore. But he was... So.
Can I just say something?
Come on up, Boots.
I just can't believe that I'm so lucky to be able to meet a man like you. You're terrific. Thank you. One question. During the times in the desert, you were walking across the desert, did you think of having an umbrella for shade?
The question was, did I think of having an umbrella? People offered it to me. It's just not my nature to have an umbrella. I don't even carry an umbrella in the car on a rainy day. I'm certainly not going to carry an umbrella. It just seems to be something I wouldn't do. Somebody donated a cart to me to carry stuff, and that lasted 10 minutes. Everything I have is in this 35-pound backpack. My living room, my kitchen, and my bedroom is in this, and that's all I ever needed. Before I introduce and turn this over to Andrew, I'd also like to report that Andrew is also a veteran of the United States Air Force. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much for coming today, folks. I wouldn't have been able to do this without this lady. I love Patty. She's my soulmate. She was the spirit behind me every day that said, get out of bed and start walking.
Thank you all for coming out.